So much, Nathalie, for making time to speak to us today and coming to our studios. We're going to be having more of a conversation around the skills needed, looking at the education sector vis-a-vis what we have on the market, what is really needed when you're looking at the future of work and how it's evolving. To start this conversation, just start by draw us a picture, if I may say. How is the current landscape when you look at the education sector, when you're looking at the skills on the market, when you're looking at what is really required?
I think the way to answer that question is to think about what are the skills needed for the future, or now and tomorrow, today and tomorrow. And if you take the example of, for example, the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report that talks about the top skills that are needed, the top 10 skills. We have things like reasoning, analytics, ideation, complex problem solving. We have technology use, technology design, even leadership. And those type of skills are skills that cut across professions and that need to be developed in a way that allows people to learn by doing. And so for that to happen, a lot of things have to change in the education system. And then on the other side, you have to look at the industries of the future. What are our countries trying to build to be able to create economic value as well as jobs, which is very important. So from that perspective, a lot of us from the education sector are lagging behind because both based on regulation and cost to be able to design education that aligns to the skills required, as well as the industries that are now and in the future. So it costs a lot of money to keep up the quality. You have to implement heavy digitization, which is also a cost to education institutions, and you have to be able to deliver on outcomes, so employment at the end. So that those things are quite challenging for us at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, just everything that you've touched on, and just looking at even a country, for example, take Rwanda, a country's economic outlook always relies on how skilled the labor market is. And with the discrepancies, if I may say, looking at how everything is evolving, the work market will be exposed further. How much of a cost will it be to the economy if we do not rethink and reshape the skills that we are empowering our young people with?
I definitely think that educators, education institutions are trying to change to align to the needs of the job market. We at Kepler focus entirely both our approach in terms of learning and our outcomes based on what the marketplace looks like. But I think what we need to understand is some of these skills have to be foundational. They have to come from primary, kindergarten, secondary school. By the time you get to higher education, it's too late. But I think there is an opportunity using technology to bridge that gap of the skills that we're missing, the competencies, and even creating lifelong learning, which is important because today you have to keep learning, keep changing, acquiring new skills. So in order to bridge the gap for existing skills in the market, there needs to be more conversations between the regulators, so in the education ministry, as well as institutions like ours, as well as the marketplace to say, hey, what are the skills that we need on the market? What are the upcoming industries, so that planning ahead, what can we create, and then aligning that to curriculum, to things that are accredited so that can be done from our perspective. More conversations and actual execution. I think from our perspective at Kepler, we've always taken that view. We ask the market, what do you need? And then we design, not even improving our existing curriculum, but we design new degrees based on what we believe the market needs and will need in the near future, midterm and long term. So that kind of approach has to be incentivized. You have to give incentives for education institutions to do that. And I think the private sector needs to also take some, they need to be practical and push education institution to be able to deliver for what they need. It's kind of like a win-win. Knowing that our students, our graduates, are going to get jobs and good jobs is a really good incentives for us. I also think education institutions need to become outcomes-based. So the way that we measure success at Kepler is how many of our students are employed after 6 months after graduation. Are they promoted within the first year? Do they jump salary in the first year? Those types of outcomes that we report are very different than saying we've enrolled this many people, which has been the traditional way of looking at success in higher education.
I mean, to evolve, what I'm getting from you is partnership is required, and each different stakeholder has a key role to play. What are the tangible examples, some of the shifts that Kepler has put in place that could be maybe replicated to other institutes?
I mean, I think for us, when our students come into the first year, we focus really on foundational skills, what we call digital and soft skills, as well as professional competencies. So we expose them to what the market is looking for, what do they want, and then we give them the type of digital skills that will last beyond even work, beyond even our doors. So if you set the foundation right, then you set up students to learn by themselves, because that's a skill that is a requirement for the future, being able to learn by yourself. And so we use case studies, we use real life examples to be able to help students understand how these skills and competencies, we are a competency-based education institution, how these competencies can be used in the labor market. So for example, if they're studying digital marketing, we don't just give them theory, we actually allow them through the class to be able to create a digital marketing plan and execute it as if they were in a workplace. That's one way. So setting the foundation right is really important. And when we ask employers, they actually say that the skills that they would like most about our students are things that they learned in first year. So on top of that foundation, we build on technical skills for whatever degree that they've chosen, with the idea that you might change. Myself, I'm not currently in the career that I started in. So this idea that a lot of moving pieces are changing, particularly in our career, and that what we really want you to do is have the capacity to learn and adapt, and they can do that themselves. So I think that's really important, the foundation, as well as reinforcing a lot of what we're hearing from the private sector along the way of their education, their 3 years with us. We try to make sure we are talking regularly, yearly. We have an annual survey with employers to tell us what they need, and if it's not something that we can immediately put in the curriculum, we add in as modules, and students really appreciate that because they know they're going to use that in the future.
I mean, you've touched on soft skills, competency. I mean, majority of the time when you look at going to higher education, it's a structure you need. It's more, when you look at what they're studying in class, there's some of the skills that you're touching on. For example, how relevant is something as soft skills really? And is it constantly overlooked?
It's overlooked, and actually when we speak to employers, it's what is missing. We have another program that we do with partners, other education partners, public education partners, where we help their students, the Rwanda Polytechnic here in Rwanda, and 2 institutions in Ethiopia. We help their students who are about to graduate with soft skills training and digital and soft skills training. That package is really important, and I think that all education institutions really need to reflect on that, because when we speak to employers, they say actually these students might be technically strong, but they do not know how to communicate what they've studied and what they know. They do not know how to plan time management, things like that. What we call professional competencies are missing. I think it's really important, and it's easy to do, even not adding into the curriculum. Part of the challenge for education institution is that we are regulated like any other industry, and our regulator has to look at quality as well as what is needed for the future or current industries. And so that's where they're slower, like any other regulator, with reason, because they're looking at the quality and the impact for students. But I think a sandbox approach, trying to figure out how we pilot projects that can become large scale and make an impact in improving outcomes for students.
How has the technology advancement really changed the education landscape? What opportunities has it provided, as well as the challenges?
Yeah, I think most institutions today are using some sort of ICT, some sort of technology to be able to deliver training or to grade or to do assignments, assessments, etc. I think the scale is still small in African countries. In Rwanda, we're quite advanced. If even you look at I was looking at the yearly statistics yearbook for the education sector, and we are doing very well on, because the 3 things that are important: devices, access to internet, right, and access to content. And we're doing quite well in Rwanda in access to devices, at least a couple of devices in each primary and secondary school. We're improving on access to content, so creating content that you can use online. But where we're lagging behind, of course, is access to internet. And that's the same everywhere in Africa. I think it requires a lot of funding, but it also requires a lot of coordination for people to understand that you need that combination of the 3 to be able to see a large-scale shift in impact. I think the younger we get students on using digital devices and learning themselves, the better we will be in the future. I think there is an opportunity today to catch up, and particularly for teachers, if we get using AI to help with assessments, so test grading, if we use AI for just access for allowing visual content and other things for students to learn better, we are really going to be changing the dynamics.
I mean, you've touched on AI, and I'm just wondering, with the evolution of OpenAI, we're seeing ChatGPT, and sometimes some people within the education system have complained saying that students, instead of using it as something to add on to their knowledge, they're relying on it to do assignments. So what is really your take on that, and how can we balance out the use of AI, the adoption of it?
I think anyone who is trying to fight AI is we're losing that battle. We'll lose that battle. I think what is important is to come from the perspective of how students learn. How do human beings learn? And the challenge is if we see AI as a continuation of a system where you tell people what to say, they repeat it, and they use AI to basically improve their answer, then that's a problem. What we need to be teaching students is to learn by doing and to teach themselves how to learn, and being able to capture whether they have learned this and can implement this and execute this, given various scenarios. If you do that, then ChatGPT or any other AI becomes an addition. It becomes a plus, a bonus, a tool. But if we continue to not change our education system, not improve our education system, where students are just regurgitating what we've told them and not understanding how this applies in the real world, then they use AI or ChatGPT or any other technology just to help them quickly get through their degree. And then when they graduate, employers are like, they don't know what they're doing. So that is it's on us to make sure that AI is used in the right way.
Thank you so much, Nathalie, for making time.